Hey, that time he was almost perfect. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. And we're going back. Usually we like to go back into history at some point and talk about wild ideas and how they culminate and how they change and how they churn and how they become something else entirely in the modern space. But when I say we're going back tonight, we're going back to the very beginning. We're going back to the Garden of Eden, to the singularity itself. Now, why? Well, because there's an article that's in the news about an astrophysicist, a mathematician, PhD, and all these things, that he wrote an article about heaven. Yeah, not heaven. The heaven you would expect us to talk about on a Troubled Mind show, right? But, he wrote about heaven in the sense of a physical place. Wild, right? Okay, let me just read the blurb. It's probably better for me to do that than to ramble on about this. But lots of things in play here. And as usual, you know me and my ideas. When somebody, look, all you got to do is like kind of loft me a softball, a volleyball, whatever. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I love that. I'm going to spike this. This is a great idea. Let's run with this and see how weird we can get as part of these conversations, okay? I mean, it's not like a challenge to get super weird, but, we do kind of do a lot of that. But anyway, so here's a bit. Straight from the thing, or no, actually, do check out the write-up. The write-up's very good. Sorry about canceling Tuesday. Like I said, I do have human limits and exhaustion. My eyes were burning and my body was sore. You're just so tired. The only thing you can really fathom doing is sleeping. Yeah, that was Tuesday night. So anyway, here it is, the Tuesday version on Thursday. But I'm calling this the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. And of course, that is that singularity. It's the singularity from the Garden of Eden, from in the beginning there was light. Okay? Think of it that way. Now, not just that way in the biblical sense, but of course, this carries over into other cosmologies, into other ideas of religion and metaphysics and all the things we always talk about on this show. So keep that in your back pocket for just a moment, and I'm going to so do read the Troubled Minds newsletter. Links from the description. The write-up is very good. It's very detailed on what this stuff is, but I'm going to give you the short version because this is just a podcast. This is just a radio show, so I will just give you the short version. We'll start with this. Where do we begin? So in January, a former Harvard physics lecturer sat down and wrote an essay for Fox News. I know, boo, whatever. I don't even watch the news anymore. That's how much it pisses me off. But for Fox News, arguing that heaven has a physical address, not a feeling, not a state of mind, an address measured in actual miles, pinned to a feature of the observable universe that Einstein's own equations say you can never reach. The internet did, of course, what the internet does. Some people shared it. Most people laughed. The astronomers issued corrections, and then something strange happened. A physicist at the University of Nevada mentioned in an interview that after the article ran, he received hundreds of emails from scientists, engineers, researchers, people in hard disciplines, telling him they agreed, that they believed something exists beyond the bubble, and that they would never, ever say so in public. That's not a story about heaven. That's a story about a silent priesthood hiding inside the most powerful knowledge system the world has ever built. And tonight, we're blowing the doors off the chapel. And that's where we start. Like I said, go back and read this, the write-up. It is very good. And the original article is there as well in the links in the description. And like I said, chase down these sources and go fact check me. Go make sure that I'm, on the straight and narrow here. I do make stuff up as part of these conceptual thought experiments, okay? But I do want you to follow some of this and kind of track it down and make sure that we don't get too far off the beaten path, because it's easy to do that. But so that's where we began. And it got me thinking about a lot of things, specifically my love for Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of these conversations really kind of trace back to that, early moment, of the formative moment of my life when I recognized that everything may be connected in ways that might surprise us a lot. And Dungeons and Dragons was one of those places because it was a mind space. It was a pocket universe within our imaginations where we could tell stories, where we could visit other mythologies, where we could go back in time, where we could go to the future. And that in particular is what brought me here tonight and during this entire Troubled Minds journey. But the cosmology effect of Dungeons and Dragons itself is they thought of conceptually these places as physical places, the 7 heavens, the 9 hells. I've talked about this in the past, of course, but in this particular context, there's Elysium, there's Valhalla, there's all these places that people have talked about, Nirvana, you name them, that forever we've been considering what actually exists out there in the ether, past the known limits of the observable universe. And beyond that, because of course we can only observe so fast, it's, the redshift bit of just the universe screaming away at faster than the speed of light means that we'll never be able to build a craft or a rocket ship or whatever it's going to be, even at the speed of light. We'll never be able to get past the edge of the expanding universe because it's moving faster than the speed of light itself. You see? And so in that contextual basis on that mind space here, it got me thinking about where heaven is. Is there a physical address to this? And he traces it as 173 million. No, here we go. So 273 billion trillion miles. All right, there you go. If you want the GPS being somewhere way the hell out there at about that distance. But of course it's expanding, and it's not to get into the big crunch and the big bang and all the stuff that kind of fits into this because it is complicated, but it's definitely wildly fascinating that there are limits to this universe that we will never ascend to. Okay. And I say that physically because of course, when we're talking about heaven and hell, we're talking about religions, we're talking about faith, we're talking about ideas. As I like to say, ideas never die. And in this particular sense, that's completely true. And so what does it mean? And so as we start, the very first question for tonight is simple. It's very simple. Do you believe that heaven, or let's say use heaven as a variable, okay? It's the easiest one where I can make the direct point here, but a variable of a mystic resonance, a place. Do you think it exists physically somewhere? And do you think it exists beyond the limits of not our imagination, because of course we can imagine it, but it exists beyond reach, even in terms of the highest, most ridiculous sci-fi space ever? I don't know. Like that to me is what really kind of makes me scratch my chin and go, this is a fascinating idea. So we'll get to the article here, and I dropped all that stuff in the links down below. So please go read it, check it out. And like I said, and forgive me for being wrong, because I am wrong, which is a great time to drop all the disclaimers. Look, this is not a show about truth. This is a show about ideas. This is a show about narratives. This is a show about storytelling. This is a show about having a conversation with great ordinary people about great extraordinary things. Okay, that's it. Very simple. So don't hold me to some dumb thing I say. I've said a lot of dumb things, and I'm wrong about a lot. But as I always say, being wrong about a lot of things is a symptom of sometimes being right. So you decide, which is it? Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute after we get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that would be Human Inspiration. Let me find this button. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. Don't go anywhere.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay. Now, of course, it got me thinking about a great many things. I'm calling it the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. And think in your mind's eye, squint with your mind's eye, follow me on with this one. But that Shrapnel from Paradise simply is everything. It's the entire matter of all of the universe. It is the singularity. It is the Garden of Eden, per se, that was fractured into a zillion pieces, shot across the entire universe, expanding relentlessly and accelerating. And it makes me wonder if there was a singularity space. And if you go back, I was, of course, as you know me, kind of digging into some of these older ideas and looking at, the idea of where heaven came from. I'll dig through some of those just right now to kind of put us in the mind space of this, because it is not just highly fascinating in terms of conceptual thought, the ends of the knowable universe, where we came from, where everything will end eventually, right? The heat decay of the universe, that type of stuff, but also the conceptual space of heaven, not just as an address, as a physical point, but also maybe a frequency, maybe a place we can access when we have, well, I don't know, the right tools, the right, whatever that happens to be, which is, of course, going to be some sort of meditative state. It will be some sort of transcendence, a transcendent moment maybe. Or, as the ascended masters of old have suggested, that, heaven is a kingdom within us, within our hearts and our minds, and it is not necessarily a physical place. So you kind of can mix and match these ideas and wonder what the hell's going on with it. But I was looking at some of the basis for this historically, and we won't go back too far for this one, but think about in like the 18th century, okay, and how they sort of described heaven in that space. And there's an actual mystic and scientist named Emanuel Swedenborg, B-O-R-G, who wrote extensively about his supposed travels through the afterlife. Instead of a static location you simply arrive at, as we're describing tonight, he described heaven as a highly fluid, synchro-mystical reality where the environment is a direct holographic projection of your internal state. Now, we've heard this before. We've heard this from Joseph Campbell in some degree with that out-of-body experience. We've heard this, like I described, sort of the frequency effect of being able to tune into a place without actually traveling there, a state of nirvana, for instance, like this type of thing. So once again, I don't know what that means in general. Well, in general, I do, but specifically and directly, I don't know the answers to these questions. As I always say, this stuff is way above my pay grade. However, in this view, the landscape, the architecture of your house, and even the weather are instantly generated by our consciousness. And in this view, again, by this scientist, Emanuel Swedenborg is his name. And so if your internal spiritual state shifts, the geometry and layout of your surroundings literally shift and rearrange themselves to match. It behaves much like a lucid dream or a highly advanced simulation responding to the user's mind, which brings into effect, which we've talked about, here and there, but the idea of the holographic principle of the universe and how everything may not be more like Plato's cave, okay, where you actually have us existing in one singular space, but then everything is layers up. And as we recognize these layers, we're, of course, able to access them, whether that's physically, whether that's sort of through mental gymnastics of like we do here, sort of the thought experiment stuff, or whether those places are actually real, whether those slices of reality of the watchers and then the watchers that watch the watchers and then the watchers that watch those watchers. And then, of course, at the very ends of everything is what exactly? I don't know. Once again, way above my pay grade, but it kind of fits into the idea too of that. We've talked about this in the past as well. The omega point. Okay. So this is now looking at the concept through sort of a futurist lens. So we went back a little bit. We went back to the beginning. Now let's look at it in forward facing here. Okay. So evolutionary thinker Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, we've talked about him quite a lot. And later physicists like Frank Tipler proposed the omega point. This theory suggests that as the universe evolves, it is moving toward a state of maximum supreme complexity and computational capacity. At the end of time, the universe's computing power becomes infinite, allowing it to perfectly simulate all possible quantum states. Superposition to the max. Should be a t-shirt. In doing so, it effectively resurrects every conscious entity that has ever existed within a localized simulated reality. In this framework, heaven is the ultimate inevitable post-biological endpoint of cosmic evolution. And so you start to look at this in different ways, and not just the idea of heaven being a place, but heaven being a destination. Not just, let's say, for our spiritual journey, our souls, and these things that we talk about, either literally or conceptually. It just depends, once again, on your framework, on what you believe or what you don't believe, and what you, all these things that we were brought up with or not. I don't know. I think eventually, given enough time, let's say that we were able to live thousands of years. Okay. I think regardless of where we start, I think eventually we would finish knowing that the universe is far more mysterious than we could ever dream. Number one. And number two, that we're going to find some things and that may actually turn on its head in the face of religion and face it directly and recognize that there was a great deal of things that they got right. Okay. And all over the world as well. And this is why we talk about it in the context that we do, because there are stories that match everything. And again, not just 500 years ago or 5,000 years ago. A lot of these stories match very much the monomyth, Joseph Campbell, the Carl Jung, the archetypes of everything, of the astronomer, the archetype of the storyteller, the trickster, all these things that we've talked about in the past, they come to actually present themselves to us in this larger conceptual space of where we're headed, what we recognize within us and where this will take us. Okay. So now here's another one. So if you want to get super futuristic with we'll jump from Emanuel Swedenborg and of course de Chardin and go to the idea of the hyperdimensional Borg cube. Go full Star Trek. Okay. For the Exile frequency here. If you look at the strict architectural blueprints provided in the biblical book of Revelation, one of my favorites, by the way, the New Jerusalem, the city of heaven that comes down to a new earth, is described with bizarre geometry. Think like an M.C. Escher painting of sorts, okay? It is measured at being 12,000 stadia in length, width, and height. This makes it a perfect glowing cube or possibly a pyramid, measuring roughly 1,400 miles on each side. If placed on modern Earth, its footprint would cover half the United States, and its peak would extend straight through the atmosphere and up into the exosphere. It's less of a city and more of an orbital megastructure. So you see what I mean? Like, even in the old ways, in some of these old texts that go back hundreds or even thousands of years, they're describing places larger than a dream. They're describing physical places that maybe ascend into this world, into this realm, in these sacred geometry spaces of how they're built and what we're seeing, at least with the mind's eye and through the tales of old. And so what does all that mean? Because if it was just a frequency, if heaven itself if Nirvana, Valhalla, you name it, was just a place, or sorry, just a frequency and not a place, why would we describe these things in the space of sacred geometry? You see what I mean? Like, this becomes weird the more you sort of start scraping up ideas from all over the world and all the way throughout history. And so that's the question. That's where we start tonight. So the exile frequency, of course, would be, and this is the wild part that makes me go, okay, what the hell's going on with this? Because think of it this way. Many would suggest that in 2026, this year, this current moment, we are less spiritual than we've ever been. You know, and here and there's going to be pockets of a renaissance of spiritual ideas and spiritual thought, but it's almost as if heaven itself has an escape velocity, like it is beyond that veil, and it is screaming away so quickly that we can never physically achieve it. And does it almost feel as if, and dare I suggest, that the further away heaven gets, the harder it is for humanity as a whole to dream of it, to conceptualize what it may be, to attune to that frequency of the original harmony? As always, the answer, of course, is maybe. But with maybe comes maybe not. But what are the ideas here? What are we looking at? And does it surprise you, once again, that we have this notable scientist, credentialed scientist, all the appeals to authority? He's got all the things you would expect. And he writes this thing clearly based on faith in some degree, and that's good, but also looking at it through a scientific lens. Isn't it strange that suddenly, and as we talk about these ideas, they all come together not just in a spiritual space, but in a conceptual scientific space of things in places we do not yet know or do not yet understand. And that's the way I like to look at the universe, because, of course, there are things, as I suggest, we will discover, hopefully in our lifetimes, that will scare the hell out of us, that will make us recognize full well that we have been slaves to our own stories and our own ideas, or maybe even others people's ideas. And we have no idea what's coming in our faces, or what level of change that will draw, not just within ourselves, of course, but within the larger context of humanity. I don't know. I think we're going to be shocked. I think, like I said, cross your fingers, and maybe, just maybe, we live long enough to find some shocking idea like this. Like I say, figure out something incredible about consciousness. Maybe there is sort of that quantum consciousness aspect where we have the tendrils touching just the microtubules in our brain that connect us to a larger proto-consciousness, a larger consciousness of the universe itself, experiencing itself through us, which has long been one of the theories when you talk about consciousness in the universe, and not just heaven, but hell, nirvana, all the places I'm describing tonight, Valhalla. But are they real places? That becomes the question tonight. And as usual, look, conceptual thought, ideas welcome. This is not about trying to debate anybody, or this is not trying to suggest that I know something you don't, or vice versa. This is a place to get together and talk ideas and share them. Because maybe, just maybe, you have a piece to this puzzle that might put it all together. Or maybe not. Maybe we're still building this puzzle all the way through the Troubled Minds journey, and we will continue until we're no longer here of this earth. But pieces of the puzzle are good, and new ways to look at the world are fantastic. And that's what this is about. That's it. That puts us where we need to be. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. I see all the chat out there. Thanks for being nice to each other. And thanks for the thoughtful ideas, and recognizing that this is just a thought experiment. Not just this entire show, but the idea tonight. And as you merge them all together, it starts to look like one weird twilight zone that we certainly live in. That's that. If you want to be part of the conversation, we are taking your calls. The phone line is up. The Discord is up. You can reach us at 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. I'd love to talk to you about this. And what do you know? Is heaven a physical place? Can you map it to this particular space of, how many trillion miles away, or whatever it was? 273 billion trillion miles from Earth. It seems very specific, no? Yeah, I think it does. Anyway, Give me a call. Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-857-6939, I believe is it. That's it. Anyway, be right back. This is can I do it right? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way. We got Joe in Florida and your calls coming up. Talk to you in just one moment.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Town motel, ice in the sink, passport photo, starting to blink. You said heavens, just a customs line, stamp on my wrist, like a borrowed time. Shrapnel from paradise, caught in my teeth like sand, little bright fragments, cutting up both my hands. You promised to guard it, then sold me the afterbite. I'm still picking your glitter out of my eyes tonight. Out of my eyes tonight. Cheap gold halo hanging by a thread, ashtray altar next to your bed. You prayed into a prepaid phone, then left your coat and your shadow alone. A shrapnel from paradise, caught in my teeth like sand, little bright fragments, cutting up both my hands. You promised to guard it, then sold me the afterbite. I'm still picking your glitter out of my eyes tonight. Oh, your sweet talk tasted like warning. Oh, your soft light burned like morning. If this was salvation, why am I bleeding from every blessing you kept repeating? Yeah, shrapnel from paradise, caught in my teeth like sand, little bright fragments, cutting up both my hands. You promised the garden, then charged me a higher price. Now I'm walking through midnight under your fallout skies. Under your fallout skies.
That was all right. What's up, Herschel? We got APOC. What's up, Joe in Florida? Coming up next, Dragon Rose. What's up, James, Matzow, Gaston, Daryl, Ray K, Sacha, and Joey. Don't panic. And we got Hiker over there on Rumble and a Puff sighting. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. I'll hit to YouTube in a second here. And when we come back, be right back. Like in 5 seconds. More Troubled Minds happening right now. Joe in Florida coming up and your calls as well. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at KUAPDB.com, just like it sounds. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight A Harvard physicist says heaven is 273 billion trillion miles away, beyond the cosmic horizon, where time stops and only light can exist. The scientific establishment says he's nuts, but the physics he's describing is exactly what the mystics have been saying for 5,000 years, and probably beyond that. And that's, well, welcome to Troubled Minds. It is strange, right, when you take the ideas of science and mysticism and recognize that the vernacular is different. The definitions are different. But when you squint with your mind's eye, as I like to say, a lot of these things, these conceptual ideas, of course, even of the science we do not yet know or understand, they mirror each other. Almost as if we've been describing these things in a particular way with some level of recognition of the universe, recognizing we're part of it in a larger context of what we really don't allow ourselves to scientifically validate yet. I say yet because I do believe there's something greater. I do believe, not necessarily in a particular book or doctrine or even a particular idea per se, but I think there's something that's going to shock us to our core, hopefully, like I said, in my lifetime, hopefully ours. And what is that going to be? And of course, the main question tonight is, do you believe that heaven is a physical place? And the other wild idea that, as I was kind of thinking this whole thing up of the seed idea where we started, is do you think that the further heaven gets away in this conceptual space, the harder it is for us to contact? Or do you think distance and quantum entanglement mean absolutely nothing, meaning we can tune in whenever we like? Once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts at 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Easy as that. Let's go to Joe in Florida. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Coming through loud and clear. You sound great.
All right. Yeah, I just figured I'd call in. I don't know that I have anything earth-shattering, but I guess my first question is the physicist or whoever came up with this, is it Avi Loeb, the one that keeps screaming, cry wolf with all the UFOs and spaceships?
It is not.
I didn't read the article, but I'm just wondering if it is that guy, Avi.
It is not. The actual, okay, so he's a former Harvard physics lecturer named Michael Guillen, Gullen, and he just recently published this article in January. So this is all relatively new, but it is not Avi Loeb, and I appreciate you asking that because my tinfoil would tingle if this was Avi Loeb as well. Anyway, go ahead.
So I'll bounce around on some quick notes I wrote. If there's a physical distance to it, doesn't really matter because it would be unobtainable. I mean, it'd be unobtainable, I would assume, with our physical mass, with spaceship and, the laws of relativity and all of those things. So I'd argue distance is relative if we die. If the ancients and the mystics saw heaven, whether it was by drugs or being dragged in a spaceship or able to shift in a dimension, then distance is only relative, like time is while we're sitting here in our walking meat suit sausage casings, because it's all a perception, it's all an illusion. So I might read that article before I go to bed. It is kind of interesting. I'd like to see how maybe he came up with this grand thought experiment. But maybe it's a way of somebody that is so, I'm trying to put myself in this guy's position, that is so grounded in math and logic that maybe it's their way to justify that there is something else. So maybe some people out there could correct me. I'm not like an atheist, I don't think. I mean, went to St. Leo, I went to a Catholic college, did all of that, yada, yada. I go to church a couple of times a week, but that's when I'm walking in with the casket. So I get my fill, but we always want to do a little maybe juice because maybe there is a heaven, maybe there is something, but there's a lot of ways I look at it. And I think I put in the chat, if it is Isaac Asimov in the last question, that is written in a physical sense of entropy and that the universe will burn out at some point. And every couple of thousand years, there's an AI in this story, and the AI gets smarter every time. But the humans ask the AI, how can we restart the universe? And the AI can't figure it out because it's the final question. And then finally, when the universe burns out and everything is in subspace, the computer finds the question. It becomes God, basically, and reignites the holographic universe. It's a good little short story. If you haven't read it, I'd encourage you to read it. Then I think about the book God's Debris by Scott Adams, who he just passed away. You know, I kind of thought he was a bit of a jerk at the end for some things he said, but he used to be the illustrator and the writer for Dilbert. And that thought experiment, if I remember correctly, was if you are God, you'd be bored and, you know, you'd blow yourself up. Hence the Big Bang. And exactly like you've said, we're experiencing things, you know, life is an experience, and that's how we're entertaining ourselves. And, you know, maybe we get recycled, maybe we go, but we're basically all these figments of God experiencing itself. But your question tonight made me click on something that I didn't like where my thought brain was going with this. Okay. So my version of heaven might be playing ice hockey and DJing all the time and having music. And I might really enjoy that. And then I think of the movie Star Trek Generations. If anybody remembers that, that's where Kirk dies in that movie. And he ends up in this ribbon. It's called a Nexus ribbon. And it's a version of heaven that, I forget the alien's name, but I forget, that just escapes me. The guy that played in Caligula, the famous British actor, he was chasing after this, not Caligula, God, forget the other movie. Anyway, Roddy McDowell is the actor. But anyway, he's chasing after heaven, but heaven is like this nebula that travels through space. Kirk ends up in that ribbon, and Picard chases after him. And it's his version of heaven, where he's married, he's got a horse, he's got everything. But every time he does this jump with the horse, there's no adventure, there's no danger to it, okay? So it's boredom, it's a false heaven. And then I started going down that thread, and I'm thinking to myself, what if we're in heaven right now? As Lucifer said, we cast it down. We should turn hell into a heaven. And maybe we have a chance to make this place heaven. However, as we can see, and I will give you an example, as we can see that there are people that worship the mighty dollar. And they get so rich that I think they get bored. And these people are almost godlike. And what do they do with the power that they have? Dare anybody answer that on this planet? So I kind of get scared if I have to go to another heaven, and that show is similar, because we get bored of being nice to each other, and then out comes the cruelty. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as Terrence McKenna would say, the great attractor at the end of time, right? Also, Desjardins, like that idea that he said he talks about maximum novelty in that space, because that's what happens, right? Boredom sort of begets, as they say, right? Nothing good happens after midnight. The idle hands are the hands of the devil. Like a lot of these, like very, very specific and direct things that point at, and you know, they're sayings that have a lot of actual folklore, common sense to them. But also, as you're describing, there's something here that is monstrous about people. And we've talked about this often on this show, because as usual, like these conceptual thinking and thought experiments are fantastic, but only as much as you can sort of frame it in a human way. And those ideas, right? Like if you go historically, we've been awful to each other. We just, the amount of butchery and all kinds of horrific stuff that's just been happening, and it's still happening. It's not even like we can say we've graduated to some new level of understanding, because we're still out there butchering each other wholesale. It's gross, well, but you get what I mean in terms of the.
You know, I totally get what you mean, and I mean to kind of like touch on what's going on right now briefly. You know, we have some religious cults that literally believe that they're going to self-fulfill a prophecy in a book, and they're going to bring about either ruling us on this Terra Earth, and another group saying that their prophet's going to come back. But what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us? And then we all have these visions of good. I mean, it's obvious that maybe there are people that have visions of evil. Maybe there's people that have visions of having slaves, and we know that to be true. But obviously, we're not going to hear those stories, right? Even in the Luciferian Bible that I really haven't read, but supposedly it preaches equality and certain things. I mean, so even on things that are supposed to be bad or what we're told are bad, give freedom if Lucifer was the light bringer, right? And then if you look at that part of the story, and God had all these rules, in the Garden of Eden was supposed to be heaven, but really we're supposed to walk around naked and ignorant, then is heaven just ignorance?
Yeah, so sort of pre-fractal ignorance, or which would of course imply it's sublime knowledge, or you know what I mean? Like again, the inversions of these things. So maybe ignorance of the Pandora's box effect, ignorance of all the things, all the horrific things that have been released into the universe based on that old myth. But in this case, we're living this. This is our reality. So maybe ignorance of those things. That makes a ton of sense, what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, look, I did something, we've all done something bad, but I've done something bad that when I put myself there, that experience, I don't want to relive it. And the way I look at it is, well, I did that, and it stay in the past, but does that shape my future actions? Yeah. I just look at it as a loop, as a circle. I think we come back, if there is a heaven, maybe it's not, I don't want to say purgatory, but maybe it's kind of a waiting room where I think Robert would say it, like we go back up and everybody's there cheering us on and we see people, and then we choose to maybe reincarnate and come back and, and do this and do that. And maybe we all have a chance to be a king. Maybe we all have a chance to be tempted. Maybe we have all those chances, because if it is infinite or there's infinite timelines, then time only matters while we're in the skin suit, right? And then when we come back, we look at people that say they're reincarnated, they remember amnesia, all of these things. Yeah, and maybe it is a frequency change. Who knows? Maybe there is something quantum that in the future they'll be able to do something to our brains and we'll pick up on that frequency. But I don't know how that would be. How would you make reality that way, right? If we could just make things come out of thin air, like we're Jedis all of a sudden, right?
Yeah. Which is why there needs to be limitations in that fractal from again, the singularity of where this came from. And again, that again is still up in the air. I mean, nobody can really prove that, right? Again, to shout out the great Terence McKenna, you give me one miracle and we'll explain all the rest with science. So it's still like, I mean, maybe, right? Everything's maybe, including the core of our cosmology, our scientific cosmology. We have no idea what the hell that is and why we're here and all the rest of that stuff, which is why, like I said, this is a very human space, because we need to think about this. We need to talk about this, because it affects me, it affects you, and it affects everybody as we are a collective, 100%.
Sure. And, but one thing that I've thought about is, do I believe in UFOs and things like that? Yeah. I've said it before on the show. I think that whatever's here has been here. As far as what kind of scares me is the loneliness effect. And I don't think we're alone, but I start to doubt that even if we had a spaceship and we can go to other planets, I start to wonder if, not that I'm a flat earther, because I'm definitely not, but I start to wonder if everything outside, like we've talked about, is rendered like a video game. So all the stars, all those things we see, they could already be dead, and we know that by physics because the lights go out, But is there anything else that exists out there? That kind of makes me wonder. That's kind of one that I've been wondering about lately, is when I'm looking up outside. It's so infinite, and then it doesn't really matter because it's so infinite. Does any of that matter? And then if there are other things out there, then we don't matter at all. Or do we? If there is a God that's all loving and that could run that computational, complex machinery. So if there's billions of other life forms out there, then what makes us so special?
Yeah, a couple things from the chat I want to point out. What's up, Roving Fungus says God was lonely, and I think that's a fantastic way to look at this.
Exactly.
And that's that again, the exile frequency, that shrapnel from paradise, which would be the Big Bang, the scientific cosmology. Another thing too, I want to point out, shout out Mr. Duffy, mentioned this in the chat as well, that if you go by the biblical stance here, that the Tower of Babel suggests that heaven was a real place, a physical place you could reach. And so that was scattered to the wind so that we could no longer reach it. All the languages came as part of it so we could no longer collaborate and build one tower to heaven itself. So again, just to point out, some of these other things that kind of make some sense, not just scientifically and as we're talking about the cosmology of the universe, but also maybe some things that suggest maybe, just maybe.
So for sure. So the one comment there for God is Lonely, that book, God's Debris, is really good. And there's a book called Revelations of the Metatron. Supposedly somebody found these scriptures. I don't know, but it's a story like that God was lonely, basically, and divided itself and everything else. Now, the other comments about the Tower of Babel, we had mentioned on the show, and I know I specifically had said this on one of your other shows, that I wonder if the Tower of Babel back then may have been something as akin to Atlantis or something else. And I'm wondering that when we reach the quantum singularity, if God will smack us down again.
I wonder, right? Which would be a conceptual Tower of Babel. It would be, once again, not a physical space. It would be us being able to transcend into that unreachable Garden of Eden. And then, of course, you get kicked out. Boot, get out of here.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, and I start to wonder, because look what's going on in the Middle East. There's, you could argue there's people there that want to build a third temple, but then there's other people that are part of those people that say we've kind of been forbidden from building a temple. We're really not supposed to have a home because of things we did in this book. But then there's a whole other side of that. So I start to wonder if I'm looking at this I see all these videos and comments, but nobody's brought in this quantum thing that we're close to. And it almost seems like there are certain things that are being done on an accelerated timeline that follows a book of self-fulfilling prophecy that was probably a story from ancient Rome. But guess what? We're modern Rome, and however you want to look at those things. But that's not, I don't want to make a political argument or anything about any of that or be labeled anything. But you cannot deny that there are some cults that are following the book, whatever book it is, they're following to the letter, and it's being rushed for whatever reason. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm going to be raptured, and I've cremated a lot of people that are probably going to be ashes in the sky if you believe in such a thing. So I just kind of want to live my life like the rest of us, play some hockey, play some music, jump in a pool, and that's it. So anyway,
real quick,
I've taken enough time.
Don't go yet. Shout out Ray K. I was watching one of Ray K's clips. Go follow Ray K, the Radical Truth podcast. There was a clip there. Speaking of ashes, she was talking about, it's in the thing, and the Promote Yourself channel. Go check that out, please. It's a short clip. And she was talking about in the Disneyland, in the Haunted Mansion, people are bringing the ashes of their loved ones and kind of dropping them in there. What in the world is going on right now? I'd never heard of that myself. And I was watching that going, the world is quite a bit more stranger than we ever dreamed. Oh, yeah. But shout out Rick, good stuff.
I've played ice hockey on the Tampa Bay Lightning ice, and somebody I know, and I'm like, get that away from me because I'm licensed. Somebody I know brought a little 35 millimeter film container, and they poured it on the ice that the Lightning play on. And I was like, I don't even want to know. Yeah. So people do some stuff, man. That's a whole story. And anyway, I'm going to let you go, but later during the week, I might email you or message you. Long story short, the state of Florida is I don't know if I said it, but they're amending a law based on an argument that I made against my old employer. So that's a good news for me because I was sticking up for consumers in the funeral industry. And in July 1st, there's going to be a new law enacted. It's not going to be called anything after my name, but my complaint and a few others were responsible for it. And it may lead to other things in the future that I really can't say, but I'm just tooting my own horn in the funeral industry. Everybody have a good night. I will listen in for a little bit. Probably going to pay some bills and be in bed at midnight. I got a long day tomorrow.
Okay, one more time before you go. So that right there is an important lesson, is that if we just throw up our hands and go, you know what, the world is corrupt and this sucks, and we don't do a damn thing about it, it will continue to suck and be corrupt. But look, Joe did a thing, filed some complaints, had some people back him up, and things changed because of it. So just a reminder that the world is not the end. The end is not nigh. Okay? Things are bad. Things are corrupt. Things are wicked. However, there is some remedy if you apply yourself. Appreciate that story, my man. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. Have a good night, guys.
You're the best. Take care. Joe in Florida. You know him, you love him. A good friend for a long time. And of course, a funeral director. Like I said, the part of that invisible process, he sees a ton of stuff that people never dream of seeing and deals with it on a daily basis. And as some of you do know, I've kind of dealt with this recently. We had somebody pass on in our family, and this is going back to January, which again, this is part of my world's up in the air right now. So there's a lot of things happening. So please forgive me for not being the old workhorse, work ethic Michael Strange, because there's a lot of things in play here. But I'm doing my best trying to keep up with everything, and so forgive me, okay? But I saw part of that world, part of that, the final transaction, as they say. And let me tell you what, many of you have been through this, and it is not a singular transaction. It is transaction after transaction after. It's like paying taxes, right? It's like, well, here's your tax information. Now go get them, Tiger. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so I do my best to hang out and be part of that. But like I said, so forgive me if I'm a little wobbly continually going forward. I'm going to do my best to be here. And look, I need this. I need this space. This space is as they say, me time for the mind. Shout out our buddy there. The first guest we ever had on Troubled Minds, me time for the mind. Marcus Louth is his name. See, there you go. Bring the memory way back. We interviewed him, Frank and I, but he's a writer for UFO Insight, But basically, like, this is therapy for me. This is therapy for many of us. And these conversations do mean something. So, I mean, I don't have to sell you on it. You're here listening. So thank you for that. But tonight we're talking the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise, I'm calling this. And of course, this begins, hang tight, Jen. I'm not going to take you right now, because if I do, I'll give you like 2 minutes and I have to bring you after the break. So after the break, we'll go to Jen and you get as much time as you need. I see you there, Kramos. Please be patient, guys. We'll get you in here. I'm calling this the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. And that simply just means the exile frequency is heaven at an escape velocity that we can never reach. Now, assume heaven is beyond the boundary of the observable universe, or the actual universe itself, because that continues past what's observable, because it is accelerating beyond the speed of light, we're told. So if it's beyond the speed of light at the ends of the universe in all directions, then we'll never catch it. It's an impossibility. And it does feel very Garden of Eden-like, one of those places we can never return to. But we did come from there, meaning, and this is conceptual, this might be literal, depends on your cosmology. Whatever. You believe what you want to believe. I'm not trying to change any of that. Hopefully this strengthens some of those ideas for you. And, let's just look in the mirror and see what we're actually dealing with, not just with our faith and what it means to be human, but scientifically as well. But the exile frequency is that. It is gone. It is a runaway heaven that we will never, ever be able to physically reach, period. So in that capacity, is the distance from us to it clouding the signal somehow? I mean, scientifically, it doesn't make any sense that would be the case, because we have this quantum entanglement effect, right? Which spooky action at a distance. So maybe the distance doesn't mean a damn thing, but maybe it does. And that, of course, is where my mind is at, because I'm a weird guy and I like to think about weird ideas, and welcome to it. That's it. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. If you want to be part of the conversation, the number to call tonight is, the phone lines are working, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for all the hands up. We'll go to Jen when we get back. Then it is Kramos, and it is Daryl. Appreciate you guys popping in here, and we'll talk to you in just a second here. And look, this is complicated stuff, and I don't expect to find some resolution as part of this, but like I said, if it's just one simple piece of a puzzle that clarifies something somewhere for somebody, then we've done our job, haven't we? That's the point. Shout out James. He tagged me earlier and mentioned that also that bring up how much anomalous activity involved the light. So where's the light coming from? If it's light, could it be frequency from that particular place or that space? Maybe. Appreciate that, James. Hope you're, again, he's got some tooth issues. Hope your mouth feels better soon. Appreciate the comment there. And you guys are the best. let's take a quick break. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. And I've got some news regarding quantum entanglement as well. Let's do the thing. Press the button. Fade it in. All right. The Exile frequency. Shrapnel from Paradise. How does it make you feel? 702-957-857-6939. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We got Jen coming up, Kramos and Daryl, and your calls as well. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. A remarkable fossil discovery out of Egypt is prompting scientists to rethink one of the most fundamental questions in human prehistory. Researchers have identified an 18-million-year-old ape species in northern Egypt, whose existence suggests the ancestors of all living apes, including humans, may have originated not in East Africa as long believed, but farther north, in Northeast Africa or Arabia. The fossils, consisting of jaw fragments and worn teeth, were recovered in 2023 and 2024 from a dry riverbed site in the region. The findings were published March 26 in the journal Science. Shifting now to the quantum realm, researchers at a university in Vienna, Austria, working alongside a team in China, have for the first time directly measured the speed at which quantum entanglement develops between particles. Using advanced computer simulations and high-intensity laser pulses, the team observed the process unfolding on timescales so brief they are described as a billionth of a second. The work doesn't question whether entanglement is real, but rather examines the precise physical mechanics of how two particles first become interconnected. And finally, a new study published in the journal PLOS Biology is challenging long-standing assumptions about what makes sleep feel restorative. Research led by a scientist at an Advanced Studies Institute in Italy found that immersive, emotionally vivid dreaming, not slow-wave brain activity alone, is the primary driver of how deeply rested we feel upon waking. The team monitored 44 adults over 4 nights, repeatedly waking them to collect dream reports alongside brainwave data. The results may help explain why some people feel fully refreshed after just 5 hours of sleep, while others feel drained despite a full 8. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. A billionth of a second. No problem, right? Kind of brings to mind some Star Trek subspace business or whatever, quantum entanglement. I hope everybody's well tonight. I see in the chat. Thanks for being cool and chill with everybody. And thanks for the ideas. A lot of great ideas flowing through the chat as we've been through this tonight. So thank you for bearing with me again in all my human imperfections. What's up, Steve in England? I see there, buddy. What's up, Fred? First and second over there. Roving Fungus on YouTube. What is happening? What is going on, guys? James is here. We got Eli. What is up? Old friends been here forever. I appreciate you guys quite a lot. What's up? Ioxy says, what's north of the North Pole? Right. Right. How you doing, Ioxy? Yeah, always lighting my brain on fire. How you doing? Sacha's here. Good evening, guys. Who did I miss? Dragon Rose. We got Fred. Hello. Richard in Texas, right? Richard in Texas. How you doing? Hello. What's up? I actually also added, you get there, notice meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? The new gods, same as the old gods. Yeah. That's really kind of the point. What's up? Hey, you looking in the background. How you doing? What's up, guys? Hope everybody is doing well tonight. Just hanging out, doing Troubled Mind stuff like we do. Over to what's up on Ultra Green Hiker. We got Margie is here. Good evening. Puff, the Puff sighting, and all the words, all the special keywords have already been dropped on Rumble. If you want to know what that is, well, you should probably go follow Rumble and listen to all that. Yeah, sometimes you got to front load all the keywords. You're trying to open, the break down the pillars of reality. Shout out Derek. Over to Discord. Speaking of Derek, the Night Stalker, how you doing, buddy? We got Eric is here. APOC, what's up, Joe? Thanks for the call. Daryl, we got Chef Pete, the Unseen Steve McQueen, Dragon Rose, Gaston. What's up, Herschel? Matt's out. Jen is coming up next. We got Joey, Sacha, Ray K, James, Karen Rocks. How you doing? And Kramos. Good evening, guys. Hope you are well tonight. Just doing just doing stuff, Trouble Mind stuff. I kind of figured there'd be some interest in the idea of heaven Yeah, but thank you again for being part of it. Jen coming up again. Jen and Kramos, and we got Daryl and your calls as well. A lot in play here, and that's the point, right? Like kind of combining ideas, looking at the world a little bit differently, and maybe checking into some ideas that we may have missed as part of the larger conversation. That's it. That's really what this is. Like I said, no truth to be found here. I know that's disappointing. Everybody wants like the truth. I could just say, all right, everybody, this is the truth, and then just change my mind 5 minutes later. I'm not going to do that to you. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right now. Jen coming up and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk the Exile frequency, I'm calling this. Shrapnel from Paradise. That would be the singularity of, again, the Big Bang. Or the space where we all came from, maybe the Garden of Eden, maybe Nirvana, maybe Valhalla. You name it. Look, I don't know. There are many definitions for this, but this is what led us here. A Harvard physicist says heaven is 273 billion trillion miles away, beyond the cosmic horizon, where time stops and only light can exist. The scientific establishment says he's nuts, but the physics he's describing is exactly what the mystics have been saying for 5,000 years, and more than that. So what the hell is this? And do you believe that heaven, in particular, is a physical place? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Thank you for being patient, my friend. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
I'm good. Can you hear me okay? I wonder.
Loud and clear. You sound great. Yep.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is it's really intriguing. I honestly think it's possible that heaven is on Earth, but, North Pole, people say it is the Garden of Eden. I think it's possible that Earth is heaven too. I think that that there could be like the war, so to speak, for heaven on Earth, that kind of idea. And I think it's possible that heaven could be so far away, yet it's on Earth. That the whole paradigm, I've said this before, is false. Like the concept about the paradigm is false, that the Earth is as they have said that it is, and that we live on some sort of infinite planet that expands outward further and farther than we can imagine. I've thought that, it's a possibility, and that we've received information from them, that these are a type of, a being, and so to speak, and et cetera. Or you could say it is, out in the ethers of space, and that could work. In some mythos, they say that the planets are the spheres of what frames existence, that going through death, you go through those, and sometimes they have, people get like stuck on certain planets, basically based off of their life, like it's the 9 circles or the 9 gates, so they say, or that you come through those to come back to Earth, etc. Or like the idea that you're born under certain stars, that that is where you came from. So like when you're coming back into the Earth, you're going through those certain spheres, so on and so forth. But for example, they say that if Mars was here and Virgo was here, etc., and people carry certain aspects due to that, it could be. We know that Venus makes the pentagram, in its orbit over the Earth, so to speak. It looks like a blooming flower. But can you go there to heaven or not? They use a lot of euphemisms, like the Lion's Gates and the Guardians of the Gates and St. Paul at the Gate. So it's, you cannot go through the pearly gates unless your name is in the book of life, and on and so on. I'm fine either way. I wish I knew, and I wish I, had a choice. I think we do, and we don't have to go to heaven, and we don't have to go to hell. I've heard it described that hell is refusal of return, or refusal to accept the oneness, and it keeps you excluded. And some want that, some would prefer it, and they are given that option. I'm not sure what I would choose. I know that if I had to, I'd want to go to where my loved ones were, and I would wait for them, wherever that was. and I would stay there or here. If I thought they would come here to a certain place, I'd wait there till the end of time, I should say, till the end of, like existence. Because I think those two must be tied together, I assume. And I know that when you're sleeping, it feels like time does not exist. I'd like to know that, I'd like to know what they thought better before the Big Bang. And I do think that language does separate us from the animals. I think that that's the most important thing. I do think that God is not lonely, but love is the most important word. There are stories of cosmic forces that oppose mankind, stories of gods and goddesses that were tricksters that tricked humanity. If you look at the myth of the Pandora myth, the last thing that the mortal woman left in the box was hope. And why would they say that? But Zeus gave her the box plan. It was a plan, so to speak, that, humanity is some kind of tragedy, and it is beautiful, and it reveals our resilience. It creates this rawness that makes life meaningful. We don't make the rules at that level. They create the rules, the gods do, but they can't control our reaction to them. That's up to us. We decide how we play the hand we are dealt. And I don't know. That's what I think about it. It's just we've thought a lot about this.
It's amazing you bring up Pandora's box. One of the times we talked recently was in the last 6 months. We were kind of kicking back Pandora's box, the idea, and you were like, maybe I misunderstood that myth entirely. And I thought about it afterwards, and I'm like, maybe I did. Maybe we're in this weird space. And so
I thought about it.
Yeah. So the digging I did, by the way, suggests yes. It means both things. It means we're preserving hope for another time when we need it deeply and desperately. It's there for us. But also, in the converse, it's also that we trapped it. And so we're here without hope, trying to figure out the disease and pestilence and all the terrible things that are happening in the world. So both spaces exist. But anyway, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is something that I dug into after that, because I was like, I think I did misunderstand that entirely. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I get it. If it's what makes it meaningful, because if they leave that out, I don't know. It does make things so raw and meaningful, because you have to cultivate resilience and courage, and it makes life meaningful. And I get that. It's just, it's such a cruel thing to do, hypothetically. But I don't know. I've considered, all the possibilities of it, and it could be any of those things. I do think that love is such a significant thing. And I think that wherever you have that, that's where you're going to go. And it may not be in heaven, and it might not be in hell. I would rather be with what I know, wherever that is. I prefer that than to go to the source. I'm not really driven by that. For me, that would be the source, is where, I felt happiest, or,
Yeah, that makes sense. Go revisit Interstellar, where, spoiler alert, in the end, they talk about love transcending time and space, because it's something, even when somebody passes, we can still have love for them outside of that physical arena, and carry that on indefinitely and eternally. Yeah, lovely. I love that.
Absolutely.
What else you got? Go ahead.
That's about it. I don't know. I did think that it's interesting about the animals. I'm always back to that, about why, why are all these animals, going about their business, and it's the language barrier. It's the language issue. The fact that, people can write things down, and they can keep track of all these things, and they can spread that information around for future generations and things like that, versus animals live through some type of, it's a very superior way almost, because they go through this intuitive, we've talked about this, that the animals just know, but they also have to, it's every single time they come in, they know exactly what they're doing, but humans have to almost learn it all again, yet it's set up so that that can happen. It's this incredible intelligence to the whole system. You know, like they won't know anything that they aren't shown directly in front of them. It's the strangest phenomenon. An animal knows exactly what to do without anything. It's instinctual. You know, for the most part, you can take an animal and they're still going to show all those instincts. It's really strange with with humans, with humans, because they do have to be shown it each time. It's the strangest thing about the creature.
Agreed. Like we're confused about the instinct process. It is so bizarre, and then the education and all the things that go into, as I say, the very human space here. But yeah, I think you're spot on there.
And of all the creatures that we should act that way is so strange, you know.
We're the smartest.
Is it an accident? Yeah, I guess they say that it's because of the brain, but it's not about the brain size. It's something so odd. If you could figure out the why of coming into existence, then death it wouldn't have to be explained at all. If you could just understand why we came here to begin with, like why life is existing to begin with, that would be enough. Like the wondering about what happens after we die, it's just where did we come from before we got here, would be enough to explain everything. That would give everybody so much, you know, such clarity if you could just come to that.
Exactly right. Back to Terence McKenna. Give me one miracle, we'll explain all the rest with science. And where did we come from? Super easy.
Well, we got
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the call. You're the best. Thanks for popping in here. Always a pleasure. And you have a great night.
You too.
Thank you very much. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Go give her a follow. Again, hosting with James Salcedo Paranormal on the weekends over there. And of course, she's got her own channel, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, it's alphabetical, and you'll find her on J, as you would expect. It says follow Jennifer right there. Click that, go follow her YouTube channel. Yeah, look, this is the point. This is the point of talking to each other about these ideas. And I think, like I said, these ones are easy, I think, for me. I think maybe easy for all of us, because I have some really weird ideas sometimes. But because they're so close to our own, dare I say it, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but they're so close to our own mythologies, okay, that it's easy to sort of make that conceptual leap and look at it in how this fits or doesn't fit too, you know. Like I know we have atheists here, we have materialists here, we have religious people that, you know, we got people in between, we got recovering Catholics. Shout out Joe in Florida. I mean, that's the whole point. Like we're never fully locked in. And I brought this up. I'm not going to, we got too many people waiting on the line, so I'm not going to bring this up. But remind me later to bring up something that I shouldn't, and I will. And anyway, 702-857, is that right? 6939. I almost got the new number memorized just in time to when we get the old number back. I'm calling this the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. Now, once again, what does it mean? Where did we come from? As Jen said very smartly there, it would answer a lot of things, but it's beyond the barrier. We cannot. But also, where do we go when it's done? Also beyond the barrier. And that shrapnel from paradise, I'm describing paradise, is the Big Bang, the singularity, the Garden of Eden per se, conceptually. And so what does it all mean? I don't know. And of course, the whole point of this, and the reason I brought it up, just to reframe, is heaven has a physical location, a physicist claims, and he thinks he knows where in the universe it is. Yeah, links are in the description. Read up on this stuff, follow up on me. Like I said, make sure I'm not just making stuff up, because I'm not. I'm going on some conceptual, theoretical, high-level stuff. My sources tell me. No, I'm just kidding. One more time, I'm going to read the number, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my friends. Let's go to Kramos. Kramos on the Discord. You are on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? Unmute and go right ahead.
Hello, Michael.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm excited to hear the frequency of your voice. Very excited in this topic.
Is it ASMR? Thank you. What do you got for us? Go right ahead. I'm just joking.
Well, I'm gonna be slow this time. I don't have the custom to tell stories about myself, but this topic is very special. So I'm gonna say this topic is interesting because when you are a little kid, you start hearing about heaven in different kinds of spaces or group of people, school, I don't know, elementary school. I heard, and so many teachers taught me about heaven, like the greatest place, and you need to earn it, right? When you are describing this scientific theory about the distance of heaven, all the respect, I don't believe in that. I believe that there's a saying here in Chile that my grandfather taught me, in Spanish is la distancia es un pañuelo, and it means the distance is a tissue. So you can bend it, you can make all the, like an origami, Japanese paper figure, you know. So I think the sound, it's one of the ways that I've learned to bend distance. Because, for example, when I ask you, Michael, how are you? I'm sending you a particular sound. I'm not assuming, Michael, how are you? No, how are you? It's a different frequency. So when in the chat, in the Discord chat, I put a photograph of a very particular place in my room, and in that photograph I have a bandoneon. Bandoneon is this Argentinian music instrument, and that bandoneon belongs to my grandfather. So I have it as a tool to connect with him, because when I miss my grandfather in his material form, I want to connect with him, and because his body is not here, I play the bandoneon, and I tell my grandfather that we are all good, that his daughter, my mother, she's fine, she's healthy, and she's enjoying her grandsons, etc., etc. And when I practice faith and when I pray, I can pray without emitting any sound, or I can pray with my voice. So I think when I want to get closer to a person, a family member, for example, I can pray, and the sound of my practice of faith through pray in my own conception, I think I can break distance. And I think distance doesn't exist in terms of, if I want to be close to you, Michael, I can be close to you just now because you are hearing my voice, and we are in a very long and huge distance, geographically speaking, but I can feel your voice and I can feel you very, very close to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. That sort of the intention of frequency, which is our voice. And again, you know, like in the intro, I say the digital darkness, because you can't really replicate true resonance to the human ear, from the human mouth to the human ear. This is a replication of that through the microphone, all the things. But you see how great it is still. Even so, I mean, as you're describing sort of the musical aspect of people, it translates very well to what we're doing now. And I feel you. And look, it's why, part of the reason why we're so long running with this, and why we have so many smart friends, is there is a resonant energy to what we do here. It's not, this is not false. There's nothing here that's fabricated to trick you into something. It's just like, hey, here's the stuff, right, wrong, or indifferent. Let's talk about it. And it's sort of a disarming, neutral space that is magical. And we're able to do that with the power of our voice and the power of our listening ears. 100%.
Yeah, I celebrate your space because it's a radio space, but at the same time, I can see you. And I can see you when you hear the calls of the many different spectacular friends, travel minds, friends that you have here. And it's very, for me, it's a pleasure to see your face and to hear your voice and the voice of others when they describe their own opinions or their own philosophy or their own theories about one topic that you can establish in your emission live stream. So you can see that distance in that matter, in that specific point, doesn't exist because we are all here, regardless our geographical position. And to end my point, when I experienced living with the Krishna conscious devotees, they taught me, and I was studying Bhagavad Gita and Vaishnavism, and they taught me about the Om, the syllable Om, and they taught me like a quote unquote scientifically, it's the only sound, that can separate atoms of matter. So when I learned that, still today, I can emit the sound of the Om very, very long, and with the pranayama breathing technique that is hand to hand with that sound, I can use it to manifest, to project. For example, when my little dog is with anxiety because there are fireworks, for example, in the New Year's, many fireworks, and I can sing the Om to my little dog and stay calm, and the ears goes down and she rests in my chest because the Om in my chest is a resonance box. So I appreciate your voice, Michael. Though I remember the first time I saw your live stream and I was hooked immediately. Don't ask me why, because I don't need to know why. But I'm here now, and I want to tell everybody that the sound of the manifestation that you want to project is going to be the sound. It's going to break the distance of whatever. And to close my point, be careful with the sounds of others when they throw you anger or tension or anxiety, and you don't need that. Cover and get away of those sounds, because we are 70% water, more or less, than the water reacts. And if you are not sleeping very well, maybe it's because all day you were hearing painful and disturbing sounds, and you can protect yourself.
You're the best. Kramos, you're the best. Before you go, Chef Pete says Kramos is killing me. Such an amazing guy. Much love for you here. Again, you certainly belong here. Good friend for a long time. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the ideas. And thanks for recognizing that we don't always have to be competing in a contentious space. We can just talk about things. We can agree, we can disagree, and we can show up tomorrow and be friends. That's what this has always been about. You're the best, brother. Got about 30 seconds left. What else you got?
That's a very good point. Not competing, not to be in the behavior of competing. Everybody, when we are talking about our opinions or our belief system about what is truth or not, there's so many channels that I see in the news and in so many spaces they are competing. I have the truth. No, you are wrong. And this space, Michael, is a sanctuary of sharing without competing. So I really appreciate it. I really feel blessed, and thank you.
And we appreciate you. Kramos in Chile. You're the best, brother. Give him a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. It's under C. He made us a link tree so you can find that and find the projects he's working on because he got banned from YouTube. So he had to make a new account. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. How can somebody as kind and thoughtful as Kramos get banned from YouTube? That tells you all you need to know. Kramos, click Kramos right there, troubledminds.org/friends. Go give him a follow. Look, I'm calling this tonight the Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. Does that make any sense whatsoever? What do you know about heaven, and why are we always thinking about it? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. We got Daryl coming up, and Derek the Night Stalker, and your calls as well. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. In the world of corporate America, the artificial intelligence revolution may be claiming an unexpected set of victims, the executives themselves. Coca-Cola chief executive James Quincy is stepping down after nearly a decade at the helm, joining former Walmart chief Douglas McMillon in citing AI as the reason for their early exits. Both men, pulling compensation packages in the $20 million range, acknowledged they simply may not be the right leaders to navigate what's coming, a striking admission from two of the most powerful figures in global commerce. Adobe's chief executive was pushed out earlier this month by impatient investors who felt he wasn't moving fast enough on AI initiatives, suggesting that boards are now actively hunting for someone to blame as the big promises of AI implementation take longer than expected to materialize. And a Citibank executive raised perhaps the most unsettling note of all, warning that the rapid adoption of AI and robotics represents an existential threat to capitalism itself, unless society can find a way to make it work. Turning to the night sky, a 50-year astronomical mystery has finally been put to rest. A well-known star sitting at the center of the iconic W-shaped constellation has puzzled scientists since the 1970s, when it was found to be emitting X-rays at roughly 40 times the expected intensity, generated by plasma reaching a staggering 150 million degrees. A Japan-led space telescope has now confirmed what decades of competing theories could not settle. The culprit is a white dwarf companion star, silently orbiting and feeding on material from the larger star, heating that infalling matter to extreme temperatures and blazing in X-rays. The solution, however, immediately raises a new puzzle. Pairs of stars like this were predicted to be common throughout the galaxy, yet they appear almost nowhere, a gap between theory and observation that astronomers will now need to explain. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
These astronomers, they got some splaining to do, I tell you what. Thank you for the great calls tonight. Thank you for the great ideas in the chat. Thank you for being nice to each other, as I always say. Look, it's not just a game. It's not a facade here. I'm not making stuff up. This is the whole point is to get together and recognize that we don't need to compete. That's it. We can hang out. We can just kind of kick around the cosmic soccer ball and learn from each other and grow with each other. And that's it. And then come back tomorrow and do it again. You see? Everything doesn't have to be political. And that's why I dodge politics entirely, because it is the most contentious space. It really is. And it was manufactured to be that way by one, among many, but go read Bernays' propaganda and you'll get it. You'll get it. And many of you know that's why you're here. And that's the point. So we don't have to do that stuff. We don't have to, do the straw man, steel man business. We don't have to argue and try and convince each other that somebody's right. Isn't it beautiful to think that maybe nobody's right? And we're all just here trying to figure it out together. Anyway, you guys are the best. Shout out Treelin T. Welcome back. I see you there. Matsel. Who'd I miss? Sacha. If I missed anybody, Jen, thanks for the call. What's up? Don't panic. How you doing over there on X? Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. We got Daryl in New York and Derek the Night Stalker as well. And your calls. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right about now. Welcome back. to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, yada, yada, blah, 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 all the places. Troubledminds.org, by the way, is where you can find all the stuff. Phone number's there, all the episodes are there, the podcast feed is there, all the places you can follow us, Rumble and YouTube, all the things. Come say hi. Come bookmark that page. Whatever it is people do in 2026, I don't know. I just remember it and type it in, but I'm weird because I'm a weird guy. Tonight, I'm calling this the Exile frequency. Shrapnel from Paradise. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's really not. It just means the Big Bang. It means a singularity space that explodes, travels in all directions, up to and including the speed of light and even faster. And there's this cosmic boundary that we'll never be able to catch, because even if we could achieve the speed of light, supposedly, in the current cosmology of science, remember, science, it's moving faster than the speed of light at the edges of the galaxy. Or not galaxy, I always swap that. The edges of the universe. Okay? So what does it mean? I don't know. I think it's complicated, but I think once again, it mirrors a lot of these ideas that we go back thousands of years that the shaman of old have observed and have talked about and have given different names. Anyway, stop talking, Mike. You talk way too much, even though it's a talk show. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the best, when you get the feedback of the people that listen to the talk show. They're like, stop talking so much. Just tell the story. It's happened before. But I'm going to just keep talking, except when we have our smart friends on. Daryl in New York. What's up? Thank you for being so patient and understanding. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead. That's a test 1, 2. Daryl.
Can you hear me now?
Better. Welcome to the thing.
I have to talk to the mic. Okay, I'll talk to the microphone. Yeah, I really enjoyed the show tonight. Great topics, great calls. I was thinking about this. If the universe, let's say, is expanding exponentially, right? That means that, let's say, you hear about the world, millions of years ago, and you hear that, everything was larger, the trees were bigger, the animals were bigger, the humans may have been much taller, for example. And I remember, do you remember hearing about they were building a tower supposedly to heaven in some biblical reference? There was some kind of a really tall tower, or.
Yeah, that's the Tower of Babel. Shout out to Mr. Duffy in the chat, brought that up when we started tonight. It's the Tower of Babel. Absolutely. Yep.
Right. So maybe, that the universe was much smaller back then, and maybe you could physically get to heaven by, building a tower tall enough. Of course, there's, intermixed with maybe the ancient aliens theories too, that maybe you just went up in a spaceship and went to another planet or something, and you thought it was heaven. It was just like the mythology of it. But then you think about Jack and the Beanstalk, that was kind of a, you climbed a beanstalk to get to Jack's house. What did he live in? A cloud? I don't know. You got to wonder. And Jack was a giant. So how did the taller giant live higher than humans, in some kind of a heavenly area? But maybe if the universe was smaller, you could probably reach a lot of other areas of the universe very easily. Just saying, just an idea.
That's okay.
Just
well said. That's what we're doing. We're just sharing thoughts, fire stuff, and it's actually apt. The Tower of Babel and Jack and the Beanstalk. Think about it. We'll do a comparative mythological to folklore space eventually on that, because I think it's very, very smart. What else you got? Go ahead.
Right. What else was it? Gigi used to talk about this. There was this paradise that I think the monks would meet in once every 5 years or 10 years, and it would occur in different parts of the world. And I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, my memory's so bad. And it was like a mythical place, but it was like a physical place, and it would manifest in different parts of the planet, depending on whatever, I don't know. And only these very very people would meet there. Do you remember anything like that? Does this ring any bell? Maybe someone in your audience will know what the hell I'm talking about.
Not for me. Okay, there's the phone line. So no, but it does echo a lot of other conceptual spaces. So I follow you with that. But is that heaven?
Right. I don't know if it's heaven, but it's, I mean, that's so like magical. If we think, I mean, I think we have like this like idea that heaven would be some kind of paradise and it would be, magical. That everything you do in heaven would just like come, you don't get hungry, you don't gain weight, whatever your best dreams are, it's going to occur in heaven. Oh, I was going to say one thing. How come there's a highway to hell, but a stairway to heaven? Like, who's that convenient for, Why is people in a rush to go to hell, but you have to climb a staircase to heaven? I don't know. Those are just rock songs, I guess, right? Rock and roll mythology.
Yes, exactly. And well said though. What do they say? In a basket to hell. There's a term there. But I mean,
hell in a handbasket.
Hell in a handbasket. Yeah, to hell in a handbasket. Exactly. Like this is the thing. I think because it's the slippery slope of these conceptual thoughts. Can you turn your thing down in the back unless you're listening to us on that? Anyway, go ahead. What else you got?
I think that's about it. I just wanted to say, did you hear about the dyslexic devil worshiper?
I did not.
He sold his soul to Santa.
Of course he did.
Thank you.
Damn it, Daryl. You're the best. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for locking in, and thanks for being part of this. You love her. That's Daryl in New York, a good friend for a long time. Please give her a follow. Look, you're recognizing a theme, right? We've got a lot of very smart friends, and you can find many of them. Look, not all of them. If this is an in list, not an out list. If you're not on that list, don't be offended. Just contact me. Help us one iota. You belong on this list. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It is alphabetical. Follow Daryl. Go check out her YouTube channel. Not only does she sing in English and French, very talented. She's got some paranormal stuff on there as well. Let's support our friends. It's free. It is free. So please, let's do this and let's help each other. And like I've always said, that we need not compete constantly. We live in a world where we think it's necessary, but I've always been one to try and help people. That's just, call it my malady, my human malady. Mike, terrible of you. So bad. You need to be stamping on more faces to get to the top, right? Come on, let's do the opposite. Let's recognize that everybody is good at, excels at one thing or another thing or several things. And then another person has different talents. So let's help each other with those talents we have. Anyway, I can talk. That's one of my talents now. But recognize when I started this show, I could not. And so it was a challenge to myself to be able to take my thoughts in real time into a microphone and send them out to you and not sound like a crazy person. Even though the crazy person part is debatable, but at least my thoughts come through real time from my brain to my mouth. And for the most part, I say what I want to say. Right? Yeah. What's up? Jared, I see that still does not function, says Troubled Minds not online. Is that true? Let me check the phone line. It should be operational. I'm sorry about that. Okay. My apologies on that. So I thought the phone line was working. Apparently it's not. Thank you for calling and trying that. Join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link and we'll get you on there next time. I'm really sorry. Like I said, it's just me. I don't have a producer or anything. I just do all the stuff, including coded that phone line. So I'm sorry. I'll debug that tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for being patient, everybody. 702. I won't read it because it's broken. That's the real phone number when it works. And sorry about that. The Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? I can't find the button, so I won't press the music. How are you, sir? What is going on? What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
Going on, Britta? Great show. Great calls, everybody. I'll be quick so you can get to the other call. I don't have too much tonight. I just needed a little energy boost of calling in. Yeah, it's like my first thought when you brought this up tonight was back in high school. There was this like super hot girl in my class, and one of my friends was dating her, and like I didn't really know much about her. Like she like she didn't have like many friends, and she like looking at her, she just seems like a regular girl. Like she didn't like dress like witchy or anything. She didn't really have any distinguishable personality traits, honestly. And one of my friends started dating her. He's like, yeah, she has like all these weird beliefs. And like one of the ones I remember was she says that like heaven exists 6 feet above your head. And it's like it's 6 feet above your head, but you just can't get to it. But it literally exists 6 feet above your head. And this was before I was really into anything like this. I'm like, what the hell? What's up with that? But it kind of stuck with me. It's just no matter like how like any kind of rocket ship you can get in or any kind of like ladder you can get on or how tall you are. Just always right above your reach is heaven. I thought that's kind of poetic, but also I don't know where she got that from. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's the conceptual basis, right? Like I don't think we're ever supposed to get back to that space. I mean, but again, you know, the big crunch might suggest that eventually we'll return. So I don't know, but like, once again, recognize that the folklore and the mythology space mirror even almost directly that the actual specific space, like the scientific specific space. Yeah, 3 levels of heaven. Exactly. That's part of the write-up and part of the thing tonight. Shout out Eric. He just mentioned that. But yeah, I mean, that's the point. That's the point of this. And that's why I think it's not only complicated, I think that we're supposed to recognize these ideas from the past and apply them to the future because it's coming. Absolutely coming. Yeah. Fire stuff, brother. What else you got?
Yeah. And past couple of days, this video has been popping up on my Facebook reels of this like one Gnostic channel of like a kid, like a little bit younger than me, looks like. And really like they're quick videos, like 5-minute things, but they're pretty engaging. Stuff I haven't really heard about. Like Gnosticism is extremely confusing. And the more you get into it, I feel like the more confusing it is. But the kind of way he pitches it, it's kind of this metaphysical cosmology, it's like diagrams and maps kind of, which I'm into. And today he was talking about the idea of 365 heavens in Gnosticism, and I never really heard about that. So I asked he's pretty good and like is like a good teacher or whatever, but like, which is rare. And the comments are just the absolute worst. And the audience, all the comments are like, "Oh, this is this is interesting. I'm the chosen one. I'm blah 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 from this eon, and I've been given all the wisdom." And that's like every freaking comment on this thing. I'm like, "Oh, brother," but essentially the AI says that there's a guy named Basilides who began this system with this 365 heavens. And this is just an excerpt from the cosmology. There's a primal octet consisting of the ungendered parent or father, the intellect, the nous, the ordering principle or word, the logos, the prudence, the phronius, wisdom, Sophia, power, dunamis, yada yada. This is from the Gnostic Scriptures, 1987. Yada yada yada. Through the union of wisdom and power, a group of angelic rulers came into existence, and from these rulers, a total of 365 heavens or eons were generated. Each heaven had its own chief ruler, archon, and numerous lesser angels. The final heaven, which Basilides claimed is the realm of matter, is the one in which we dwell, and that's where the demiurge is. And then the 365 heavens are the layers or aeons of aeons or realms, often seen as the barriers between the material world and the divine pleroma, which is like the fullness. It's like the divine fullness, like the outside of everything, like where the monad dwells. Each heaven is ruled by an archon or lesser deity. The location of the heavens are typically depicted as concentric systems or layers surrounding the earth, with the highest being closest to the pleroma. So it's not like 365 individual realms. It's like nesting dolls. Each one is encoded to the next. And the archon that rules the realm, like ours being the first one, the realm of matter being the demiurge, or Braxis or whatever, is they're not aware that they think they're the grand poobah. They think they're the number one god and there's nothing above them. Not realizing that they're within another heaven. And this goes on 365 times. And apparently the point of Gnosticism or wisdom is to like escape these things. And each of these heavens has like a gate or like angels and gatekeepers and stuff. And you need to have a password that you accumulate, like as part of the gnosis, as part of the wisdom you get. There's a word that grants you access to the next heaven. And once you get out of all 365, you reach the pleroma. And the whole goal of these 365 is to knock you back down so they can keep recycling you. And it's part of this prison planet. And it's 365 layer nesting doll prison of heavens, trying to get out of, basically. I thought that was kind of cool. Thought today.
Yeah, very David Icke. That's kind of what that sounds like, part of that. Or even Dr. Courtney Brown of Farsight. He talked about the sort of the ISBs and that the light and all that stuff. I mean, it is. Once again, even sort of modern mythologies, and I'm not being disrespectful to those people. I'm saying there are different ways to look at the old stories and then even sort of reframe them with, remote viewing or, the David Icke aspect of this. It's as I always say, it's complicated. And I know I run that, I literally wear that term out, but because it just is. I mean, welcome to it. What else you got, brother?
It's basically it. I find it cool because these things can all be like the way Jung talks about the abyss and these journeys and these like travels and stuff, and these like go from layer and layer. They can be kind of viewed as like metaphor and stuff, but he kept beating the point about no, this like the Gnostics, they believe this is a literal system, and so it's like he's like the entire history of the ancient Egyptians, the entire history of the ancient Gnostics, like most of the human philosophical systems are just trying to gain these secret words in order to escape these 365 heavens, and there's just one door after the next, and you don't realize, and it's confused, and it's essentially trying to trick you and trying to like make you think you busted out of it, but not realizing that you're in the next. I don't know. It was really some kind of scary horror video game idea, but
it's the allegory of the cave in Fractals, right? Like, it's like the allegory of the cave in Fractals. It's the same thing, like layers of layers of layers of like, oh, I see, it's the next level. Now I'm finally out. Nope, no, you're not.
Yeah, but a cave that's actively trying to trick you, and then it's like exactly a dream within a dream. When you wake up, you think you're out of it, and then I don't know, the whole goal being I don't know. I don't know. It's trippy idea, but something I'll look into more. But 365 heavens. That's it. Later, bro.
Hey, man, you're the best. Appreciate the call. You know him, you love him. Derek the Night Stalker, Derek in Massachusetts. Give him a follow. Again, Night Stalker, Stocker. He actually calls us from a grocery store stalking overnight. He's not trying to be cute other than he just is cute. That's it. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Night Stalker. It's under N. Go follow his YouTube channel. He's got a YouTube channel. You can see him. He's not hiding. You can see his face. He's showing us he is the best he's the best grocer in the known multiverse. That's how I like to describe it, because I've seen him. And I worked a lot of time in retail as a manager and everything else. So I'm a connoisseur, and I tell you, Derek is the best in the known multiverse. Please give him a follow. That's the whole point. Let's help each other. It is free. It's a YouTube channel, TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow the Night Stalker. A great call, Derek. Appreciate you very much. We're talking, what is this? What am I calling this? The Exile frequency, Shrapnel from Paradise. Now, just talking heaven, right? Conceptual heaven. And shout out Gaston when we were kind of chatting about this on the Discord last night. My premise was like, this is the premise. Escape velocity of heaven. But heaven itself is a variable, because it depends on the different faiths and whatever. Like you go back and it's Gnostic, or it's not, or it's whatever. That's the point. So what does it mean to you? And do you think heaven is a physical place? Because where we started was this physics, actual physicist. He claims that heaven has a physical location. And, well, what is it? 273 billion trillion miles away. That's a hell of a drive. Yeah. Love to hear your thoughts. I'll read the phone number, but it's broken. Instead, we'll go to the Discord. Let's go to Karen on the Discord. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Thanks for being a fellow Troubled Mind. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. Just hit accept on the green hand there. Pop on up, unmute, and go right ahead. Karen, you are on Troubled Minds. Welcome to the joint. Test. All you got to do is unmute, and you should be good to go. Test. I do not hear you. There we go. I heard something. Hello. I hear you. You were very, very quiet.
Wait a minute.
You sound familiar. There we go.
Is that better?
That is working.
Okay.
That is working. Karen, you're on Troubled Minds.
Okay.
Welcome. What's on your mind?
Okay, so hold on. Let's see. One second. I'm going to change my audio. Is that better? Hello?
Yeah, you sound fine. You're coming through great.
Okay. All right. Now I can hear you guys. All right, good. So I have I don't know if this has anything to do with heaven and everything, but this AI, I don't know, it's just been on my mind for a while, and it's taken over people,
Is a AI coming from a heaven space outside of the?
Well, it's coming from a human space, coming from. It's hard to say. It's just a thought. Like, what is it about people and artificial anything? Like, why can't people be just real instead of artificial?
True. I agree. The artificial intelligence space is near and dear to my heart because I use these tools every single day, even to create these shows. But I feel you. We're moving into a space where people are feeling uneasy about this. And that's really the point to kind of there's, like there's a lot of, everybody's about to lose their jobs and the robots are going to stomp on our skulls and it's the end of the world, right? There's a lot of that going on. But I'm not so sure that's going to be the case. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah. I never thought that because years ago, when I graduated college, I graduated with a computer programming degree. And, I didn't go into program, but I went to operations. And the mechanics were getting better, but they're not going to take over people's jobs because it's human error is human error, and humans made this stuff, So how can a human make it and have it take over? It just doesn't even make sense. It's like the self-check. Like I work in retail now, and I've been in customer service for ages, and if a human makes something, how would a human want to make that artificial thing take over you as a human being, right?
It's a good question. Ask Elon Musk if you ever get an audience with him at the Neuralink and how it fits into this. Yeah. No, I feel you 100%. And there is a lot of anxiety in the space about it. And when I say the space, I mean Western society. I'm not so sure they're worried about it in sub-Saharan Africa or something, but yet until the robots show up, right? We're tracking down the humans.
Yeah,
right?
Robots are taking over. I mean, I've seen all the movies and I love those movies because I love to crack up,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I do too.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just been a thought. And I watch these videos on Facebook and YouTube and these AI videos, and they're so dumb. They're like the dumbest things.
There's a lot of dumb stuff on the internet. Don't forget, if it's on the internet, it must be true. So just a reminder.
Is like living on the internet. And don't get me started with the Karen thing, because God. The Karen thing.
Yeah, the Karen thing is completely unfair. It's completely unfair. I am with you 100%, by the way, on that. That it is one of those things that's kind of become a cultural meme, and it's unfair because it's like the Mike meme. There's a lot of Mikes out there. Are you serious? I mean, there's no Mike meme yet. Let's hope there isn't one, but yeah, go ahead.
You don't have to be named Karen because it's misogynistic to every single woman around. If you have an opinion, or you ask somebody, or you get heated, like, why do you want to shut down women? Like, it's God, my God, oh my God, the reproductive, all that stuff. Oh my God, it's just like, oh my God.
I'd rather appreciate women, but that's just me. I can only speak for myself.
This is, I knew it was going to get off topic, but I was like, AI, and the mankind will always exist as long as mankind wants to. That's what the thing is.
Yeah. Amen.
If you can't make it turn you into dust. That's just not feasible,
Yeah. As they say, ashes.
That's my thought.
Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. I'm not a priest. Don't worry about that. And I'm not cursing anybody. Right. I'm saying I'm grateful that you're here with us and sharing these ideas. That's the whole point. That's the entire point. Like I keep saying, we are not competing. We're talking about ideas, and that AI anxiety is on the tip of everybody's mind right now. And so it's important to bring it up. So thank you for mixing it into the space, and thank you for listening. Looking forward to hearing from you in the future. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me on. Thank you so much.
You're the best. There you go. Karen, a brand new caller, first time caller. And a little birdie told me that that's Daryl's friend. Shout out to Karen and Daryl there. Fire stuff. Appreciate it. Look, like I said, and I'm not an expert in anything other than being myself. And then, I even wobble on that sometimes, but AI stuff is something I can speak to quite a lot. And I don't know. I don't think anybody knows the answers on what that looks like, what's coming. And that's why it is kind of screwing with our headspace at this point, because a lot of these things are real. I mean, jobs are going to be lost. I put it, this is how I put it on X yesterday. Right now, a lot of these billion-dollar companies are panicking because like a 14-year-old with a laptop is able to compete and undercut them. So we're going to see a contraction before we see an explosion. You see what I mean? That's how I see this. Am I wrong? Maybe. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but you understand what I'm saying here, is that we have a massive market correction coming, and it's not just in one market. It's in all the markets. Yeah. So what does it look like? I don't know. We've never been here before in that space, but trust me that there's a counterbalance. And of course, if we stick together, that's the most important thing, which is what Troubled Minds has always been about. What's that Orwell quote? Let me find it. Let me see if I can remember it. Let's do the human thing and not look it up. George Orwell said something to the effect of, what did he say? It's not so much that we, what is it? Basically, staying human is what's important. I gotta find it now. It's gonna own me. Anyway, look, that's the whole point of this, is that we talk about ideas together. We're wrong or we're right, some mix of all of the above, and wondering what comes next. And that's not verboten yet. We can still do this. And there are some places in the world where you cannot. That's important. It's important to recognize, and it's important to me to be here. It's important to talk to people that are geographically forever away, whatever, all the way across the interwebs, that through the digital darkness. But you see how wonderful it can become, aside from all of the concerns, aside from all of the anxiety of the internet and everything else. I gotta find this quote now. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to help Troubled Minds, you know what to do. Help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, click click all of them. And look, if you should be on that list, you should be. It's an in list. It's not an out list. So many people are there. So many other people could be there. Just let me know. You help the show one little way, and you're on that list. If you have things to share, whether you do karaoke or you do whatever it is, if you got a social profile you want to share, you got a YouTube channel, you got a social media account, shout out Joey out there on X. I saw you, speaking of Joey, there it is. Yeah, Joey's got me. He's got my back. Don't panic. It's not so much staying alive. It's staying human that's important. What counts is that we don't betray each other. There you go. See, human stuff. That's exactly the Orwell quote. Thank you, Joey, for pulling that up. See, we were mind linked. I knew he was going to come through in the moment. I knew it. I just knew it. I mentioned him, and then in the chat it comes up. I don't know. It's weird, right? Isn't that a bizarre synchronicity? One more time. Orwell said, it's not so much staying alive. It's staying human that's important. What counts is that we don't betray each other. Hypercritical to what's happening right now. If you want to help Troubled Minds, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to talk about politics. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. We think about the world in a different way. And maybe, dare I suggest, the most important of ways. That's that. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. And this one is for Joey. And Karen, first-time caller, thank you for listening. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night.